Hello again, brothers and sisters. This is Franklin Jones. So often when we discuss our plight and our condition, the beliefs that we follow requires that we believe in the mystical. We believe in fairy tales or blind faith that this is what's happening. So we have to hide our, we remove this from our critical thinking and common sense. I'm going to show utilizing common sense, critical thinking, in fact, the reality of our plight and condition. Imagine that you were going into war and you were able to control what the opposing soldiers, the opposing force, believed about themselves. That would give you immense power over the opposing force. In fact, it would give you your greatest weapon against them because it would allow you to negatively control what they believe about themselves, thus allowing you to demoralize them, divide them, make them self-loathing. It also allows you to shift their collective aggressions from you and redirect it against themselves. And yes, you have motive to do it because these are the opposing force. And you would use it. Let's be honest. If you're able to control what the opposing force believes about themselves, of course, you're going to manipulate them to think less of themselves as a means of preventing their ability to unify against you. Common sense. That's the reality shared between the white society and black people. The white society controls all of our narratives. They control our statistics. Now, they even control our study results. They control even our media images. The reality, in fact, is, and many of us, because we've been born in this system, we don't realize it, is the white society literally owns our interpretation of ourselves. They, in fact, do. And it gives them their greatest power over us because it allows them to demoralize us, divide us, make us self-loathing, and shift our collective aggressions away from them and redirect it against ourselves. And this is what the white society does through their monopoly over information. I mean, some things, just look. Have you ever considered how cartoonishly unrealistic it actually is that virtually all information that we receive from the white society about ourselves are consistently negative? Black men are the worst at this, the worst fathers, the worst boyfriends, the worst husband. Black children are the most disruptive in schools. Black women are the most abrasive, less supportive women. Everything that we hear about us are negative. We're the sickest, we're the rudest, we're the most violent. These are untrue. But it has an effect upon us, and that's the design. In fact, no group can constantly receive negative information about themselves and not be adversely affected. No, it's not possible. People become besieged by the negative information they receive about themselves. It affects us. Whenever those in power want to control the people, they do so by demoralizing the people. Demoralizing, it utilizes the immense power that shame has upon the human mind to mentally enslave a people. And this is a tactic that the white side uses against us. Now, let's once again, critically think, look at reality. Ask yourself, when in history did the white society ever earn the credibility to exclusively control what black people believe about ourselves? When did they ever earn the credibility to exclusively control our narratives and media images? The white society has been denigrating our image and telling lies about us for over 500 years. 500 years. But yet we look at them as the authority, and most of us don't question the validity, even though they've never earned the credibility. The white society has never earned our blind trust, but yet we accept the narrative that they put about us every time, and we function based upon the narrative. People function based upon the information they receive about themselves, and the white society keeps us believing the fraudulent words about ourselves because it demoralizes, divides, makes us self-loathing, and it shifts our collective aggressions from them, and redirects against ourselves. And then those among us who have the weakest minds, They become so self-contemptuous towards us. Nowadays, before we can even confront the system of white supremacy, we now have to fight against our own people that has been brainwashed to defend the system of white supremacy. Because they've been made to see our race as the bad guys and white people as the good guys. And their minds are so turned away from our reality that if you talk about slavery, a black person says, blacks had slaves too. Or they would say, most of the slaves were sold away. They're functioning based upon the narratives, the black demoralizing narratives that the white society have embedded into our minds. Because let's look at the reality. When the colonizers invaded Africa, Africans owned all of the diamonds, all of the golds, all the minerals, and all natural resources. Western money had no value whatsoever in Africa, not at all. And the West had nothing that Africa needed. So how is it possible that the majority of our ancestors were sold away by Africans? That's the narrative that the white society creates. And those of us who don't critically think, don't apply common sense, or we just blindly accept what the white society, it makes us self-contemptuous towards ourselves. Because now it's conditioned us to blame slavery on our own people, our own black wretchedness. The white society exploits its monopoly over information, and it keeps us believing the fraudulent worst about ourselves, and we function by it. They have us believing that to marry a white spouse, we're inherently better off. They say because black men are the worst, black women are the worst. But here's the reality. Race is not actually a factor for how someone's going to treat someone. Race is not. Your religion, your culture, a history of abuse, mental problems. But race is not a factor. But the propagandists keep putting out the propaganda. White men will treat you better. White men treat you better. Black, white women are more supportive. And then those become a part of our narratives. We would, our women, black women's arguing with her husband and says, I need to find me a white man, they treat you better. And a black woman would say, so? But honestly, it's not even true. A black man might say to the woman, hey, I need to find me a white woman. They're more supportive. And the black woman might respond, damn it, that's they're weak. But the reality is not true that a white woman is naturally more supportive. But you see, we function based upon these narratives. And the narrative that the white society feeds to us makes us think and behave in ways that benefit themselves. Our core problem is nothing to do with a silly slave syndrome. It has nothing to do with a Bible written by our most ungodly enemies. Is that those with the ability to write narratives and impose them upon us and make us function in ways that serve their interests and in ways that are against our own interests are doing so. For another example, they created a narrative that black people have a no stitching policy. No stitching policy. Black people has been calling the police on black people for hundreds of years when we see a crime. Many people heard that and said, oh yeah, we have a no stitching policy. We have a no stitching policy. And stop reporting crimes. And then when we stop reporting crimes, it erodes the condition in the ghettos. It gets worse. You see how through their power of information, they impose narratives upon us. We then function based upon the narrative, making it true. We have to understand, we have to emancipate our minds from white mental slavery. We have to learn of the information warfare that the white society deploys against us. They give us disinformation, and they withhold liberating information from us to keep us functioning, thinking, and behaving in ways that aids in maintaining their white dominance over us. Please, to emancipate your minds, you to stop believing the things that the white society says. Start researching things for yourself. Start critically thinking. Start questioning the validity of all the information you receive from the white society. Because the information they give us is always distorted to make us think and behave in ways that benefits themselves. One love and peace.